Okay, it is 7 o'clock, and I'm calling the meeting of the Brattleboro Development Review Board to order. And I'm going to read some quite lengthy opening remarks. And I'm asking that everybody except the board members mute themselves and turn off their cameras. So Margaret, you can show yourself if you want.
I'm having some technical difficulties, so I don't want you to see me moving my camera around.
Okay, that's fine. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All participants except for DRB members will be muted except when taking the oath, presenting, or commenting on a project. DRB members will identify themselves when they speak or ask questions. Members of the public will identify themselves before commenting when called upon by the chair. Voting will take place by roll call to ensure the accuracy of the record. If there are technical difficulties, it is understood that the meeting is adjourned until a future time to be determined by DRB members and staff. The meeting will proceed in the following order. The applicant or applicant's representative will be invited to present their application or proposal. Board members will ask questions of the applicant or applicant's representative. Interested persons will be invited to present information regarding the application or proposal. The applicant's representative, or interested persons will then have a chance to respond. Additional questions from the members of the board or comments will then be taken. So now the legal part of my opening remarks. At the DRB, we hear applications for land development in the town of Brattleboro and appeals of zoning administrator decisions. Procedurally, the Development Review Board operates on the record. Broadly, this means we take a clear record of testimony from the applicant and any interested parties, and then issue a written decision with our findings. Applicants and members of the public should be aware that as we are on the record, this is your opportunity to comment on and provide evidence relating to an application. In the event our decision is appealed to the environmental court, the court will not take or consider additional testimony at its hearing, but will look at the evidence from our hearings, the regulations, and determine if the evidence supports the findings and decision of this board. Only interested persons that participate in this proceeding may appeal a decision made by the board, so I strongly urge everyone to speak up. As we are on the record, we are going to ask that you affirm your testimony will be truthful. So, would anybody that's going to be presenting evidence or speaking, please, you can turn your cameras on and unmute yourselves while you take the oath. Okay. So would I hereby affirm that the evidence I give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalty of perjury. If the three people would say I do.
I do.
I do.
Okay, you can now turn your cameras off and mute yourselves again.
Okay.
Thank you. After taking testimony, the board will close the public hearing and may vote on your application. The board will issue a written decision within 45 days of the close of the hearing. While we may vote on an application, it is the written decision that controls the timeline for appeal. Applicants require a majority vote of the full board to succeed. That's 4 votes out of 7. And I believe we have 7 people. 1, 2, 6. We have 7. So we have a full board. If we do not have a full board present to hear your application, then we will consider a request to consider your application to the next public meeting. It should be noted that the town of Brattleboro is a party with an interest in land development applications. The town does not have a special status before this board. Documents provided to the board by the town planning department, town attorney, or other town departments will be considered in exactly the same way as information from the applicant and all other interested parties. So, Ms. Ortiz,
Present.
are you here to present or are you here to comment, or
Well, if you have any questions, I'm here.
which project?
Lot at Tri-Park.
Okay. Will you please take the oath now and then turn your camera off and mute yourself? You missed my opening remarks. So you are to stay with your camera off and muted until it's time for your project to be presented and if you want to speak, okay?
Yep.
So, but you have to take an oath first.
Sure.
I hereby affirm that the evidence I give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury. Just say, I do.
I do.
Okay. Turn your camera off and mute yourself, please. Okay. Can we have a motion to approve the minutes of February 17th?
I
Anybody?
would like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the 17th of February.
Thank you, Michael. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of February 17th. All in favor? For the minutes, I'm just gonna say aye.
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 Okay, the minutes are approved. 7-0. And Dan, I forgot to appoint you to hear all the cases, so because you're the 7th person today, okay? Let's see, all parties took the oath. Brian, was the meeting properly warned?
Yes, it was.
Does anybody have any conflicts of interest or have engaged in any ex parte communications? Hearing none, we'll just proceed. The first case is 2021-14, Tarmy Properties, Service Center District, request for site plan approval. Okay, Mr. Tarmy, do you want to unmute yourself so you can explain your project to us, please? Mr. Tarmy?
He was there.
I know, he took the oath.
Okay,
Still muted.
okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. It's a fairly simple project. I'm building I have a flooring manufacturing building, and I need to build essentially an open shed. You can see it outlined there. that is 40 feet by 120 feet. The two gable ends are sheathed. It's a metal sheathing. It's built by Allied Buildings, and the sides are open, and we're using it for the dry storage of kiln dried lumber. And it's there's not going to be any electric or water in the building. It is right now the surface that we're planning on putting it on is paved, and so it's an impervious building, I guess, on an impervious surface. And there's going to be and that's pretty much it. It's really not seen from the road. I'm not sure what other things I need to say, but that's pretty much it.
Can you go back to that first drawing, Andrew? So can you point out where the entrance to your property is?
The entrance is back here, right on Putney Road.
Okay,
That's where it comes in there. It goes by the Rhodes Scholar Building, then
Okay.
comes around, and then there's a driveway right here that goes into the back property. It was the old Dennison and Jameson's
okay,
warehouse and Rugby Building Supply back there. And
okay. So you go all the way back through.
that's right. That's right. This is a parking lot here, and also the lighting. The lighting on the building is all sort of downward facing LED lighting around the warehouse there.
Okay, do you have spaces marked on your parking?
No, because there's the only spaces that are there are marked are over here, but there really is. We have some employees. It's not a retail place, so we have about 10 employees that park in front of the building, 10 or 15 employees that park right around here. Can you see my cursor?
I don't think we can.
Oh, I'm sorry. So in front of the large warehouse, the employees, they park their cars right there.
Okay.
So that's your large warehouse and
And it's a manufacturing space is what
Right.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, can you talk to me about what you currently do with the snow when you remove it? Where does it go?
The snow, Kerry Tyler takes it and he pushes it all to the edges of the property is what he does. If you look where where it says loading docks or whatever, it all gets pushed over to there. It also gets pushed around the building where it's really pretty much just pushed aside right now is where it all gets pushed. Where the building is, right where the new prospective building is, has always been clear of snow. We always have to, that's where we unload and load trucks back in there.
So where will you be loading and unloading if you put that building there?
We still have room around that building to unload trucks, like in between the new building and our old building. I'm sorry, in between our new building and our current building is about 75 feet, which is plenty enough room for us to unload trucks. We also have some trucks that unload. If you look over to the south side of the warehouse, we have some loading docks that tractor trailers back into and unload, and we load flooring and stuff like in there.
Okay, because this is considered a major project, we're going to have to ask you to correct the lighting to bring it into conformance with the regulations, which means it has to be downcast and shaded
Okay, so,
on your current building.
okay, that's not a problem. I can have King Electric do that.
Does anybody else have any questions from the board?
One
Mike?
question. On the drawing here, the building that backs up to the railroad track is labeled as new warehouse.
Right, that was on the map. That was an older map that,
It was new when it was proposed.
yes, that's right. Yeah, that's right. And that was, that's just what they called it. It's for SVE did the plans, and that's how they had it. But yeah, I can see how that could be confusing.
And the other question I had was, you mentioned something about screening and I believe in some write-up.
Well, currently, I could do either or, but right now, where that building is running east-west, I don't know if you can, right where the building is running east-west, there's a line of trees. And I was actually going to take those trees and move them. I was going to have Tyler Excavation take them and move them along the roadway that along the entryway. So when you come in, it moves it because there's already, between McDonald's and us, there's already trees there. And I was going to move the trees so that they are running east-west along the driveway. I wish I could point it out to you. Right, yeah, exactly right there. Move those trees along there.
Where is McDonald's on there?
McDonald's is, it says map 7 block 07 parcel right there. That's
Oh, right there.
McDonald's.
So the
And-
adjacent to McDonald's, is that also your? I'm looking at this and there's like a dotted line that's going down the center.
Yes, that's all our property.
It is. Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. So there's plenty of room then. I take it with the truck.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have the Rhodes Scholar building. We own that, and we also own all that adjacent parcel.
Yeah.
We own basically the land behind KFC and McDonald's.
Which one's KFC?
The one that's map 7 block 7 parcel 20.
Thank you. And are you proposing any screening between those two lots in yours?
No, because there already is screening. It's already
All right.
screened.
So what is south of you?
The railroad tracks, and
Yeah.
then there's there is around the railroad tracks. Then there is a brook, and then it's New Hampshire. No, it's not New Hampshire. It's if you go on Route 9, there is a road right before the bridge that
Mhm.
goes back along where there are houses along the Connecticut. That's that area there.
Okay, and I'm disoriented here. So this property is oriented east-west? No, north-south.
I would say more east-west,
Okay.
because you come in from the east and you're going west. I'm
Okay.
sorry, you're coming on the west and you're going east. Sorry.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so these properties below yours on this map,
Yeah.
what are those?
Oh, you can't see them. You have to drive. There are no houses that you can see. It's probably at least an eighth of a mile before you start seeing those houses. The houses are, it's all woods, and then there's that road, and then there are houses that are on the Connecticut.
Okay,
And then above you?
Above us, well, north of us is Ed Higley's pallet, does pallet remanufacturing, and south of us is more of our property, and maybe I don't know, 200 meters, 300 meters further south of us is the motel, the Colonial Motel, not the Colonial, that used to be called the Colonial, whatever.
that's what I was trying to figure out, where the motel was. That's why I was asking you all those questions.
Okay, oh, sorry, I'm sorry. And then if you want to know where the old red coach, I'm sorry, I'm dating myself, the Black Mountain Inn is, if you look where the existing office building is,
Mhm.
and you just keep going, like the North End Market, the subway is right there, and then you keep going, that's the Black Mountain Inn.
Hmm.
I think that's why we're concerned a little bit about the lighting, and need to have it corrected in case, I don't know whether they can see the lights, but
They can't. No, you can't. If you go at Subway or you're at the motel and you look, you cannot see. You can't really see. You can't see the warehouse.
okay. You're still gonna have to fix the lights.
It's fine. That's fine. If you want me to fix the lights, I'll fix the lights.
Okay, and I'm gonna say a couple of other things that Brian may have already talked to you about that are required because because of the nature of this project. You're gonna have to put in a bike rack of some kind. I don't know whether you have any employees that might commute by bicycle, but you'll have to put in a bike rack. And
How many bikes?
I don't know, one or two.
Okay, no worries.
I don't really.
Listen,
Nobody's ever asked that question before. I don't think.
I bike to work, so it's not a problem.
Okay, and let's see. Does anybody else have any questions? I can't see everybody.
I do. Dan.
Okay, Dan.
Hi, this is Dan Handy. Mark, you mentioned earlier that you own the property to the south of this lot.
Yes.
Right.
Well, yeah. Yes, I do.
So to the immediate south of the warehouse, there's another pole barn,
Yes, that's right.
which is also storage. This new one, is it basically the same dimensions or is it smaller?
It's smaller.
A little smaller.
It's about 10 feet narrower, and it's about half as long.
Hmm.
That other one is probably,
Pretty long, yeah.
yeah, that's around 220 feet, 220 feet long.
And height-wise, will it have the same clearances and the same sort of?
It's going to be a little bit smaller. The height is going to be a little bit smaller. It's going to be around 12. No, it's going to be about 15 feet at the entrance to get inside.
Right. So I just thought it would be worth mentioning that there's another structure very similar to the proposed one. It's older and it's much larger. But I don't know if the lighting question applies to that also. It's not the same property.
There's no lighting on it right now.
Okay. So another question is you were getting to the screening issues, and I've driven back there, and I'm curious if you're envisioning changing the traffic pattern as you come in to the area where the new building's proposed.
No.
No, essentially you have sort of the option to go left around the back or between the two buildings.
Yeah.
Or to the right.
So right now what happens is trucks pull in and they park sort of where that building is right now. We unload the trucks, and then we have to drive the lumber all the way back to that long building that you're talking about, and we store the stuff in there, and then what free bays we have, and then so we're going it back and forth a lot, and so this is going to just save us a lot of time
And one more thing. So Andrew, I don't know if you have the sketch that shows the stormwater drainage system. I remember seeing one of those. But is this requiring the change of any stormwater drainage or anything like that around the building?
No.
Mark, if you know, okay.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
And
I just remember seeing a sketch of it, but it's not, there aren't any lines that go underneath it or anything.
No.
Okay.
So we are going to require, and this might be what you're thinking of, Dan, that there be an inspection of the stormwater system. And that the results be submitted to Brian as the zoning administrator. And this is because the Connecticut is so close.
Okay.
Thank you.
Who does that inspection? Does the town do the inspection?
No, you'll have to get an engineer or somebody to do it.
All right.
I think Stevens is the best people in town for that right now.
Okay. I'll call Bob and ask him.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments?
Michael, April?
Yep.
I believe there is some concern about the possibility of having an EV parking space. I don't remember hearing anybody talk about that yet.
Oh, thank you.
It's not required because they don't have enough spaces for it.
Right.
So there.
No, and that's why I asked about the marked spaces. And he doesn't have enough. It's just kind of open, except for those few there.
I guess just to follow up on your lighting thing, just to make sure that that you tell your electrician the right thing. What you really want with those is fully shielding, downward facing.
Yes.
The ones you have in now do tend to point down, but if you're standing out in the parking lot, you really shouldn't be able to see the light at all.
Josh King told me that you were going to ask for that. So.
No,
I asked him what LED. I remember I put all these LED lights in, and he said, "Oh, the town's going to ask you for those downward shielding lights." So I said, "Okay." So it's not a surprise.
Okay. And I'm sure Josh knows what to put in.
Oh,
Yeah.
and by the way, Ian isn't here anymore, but it would be really appropriate if you get them in a warmer color down in the 3000 range rather than the bright blue, bright white ones. That's a requirement.
Okay, I mean, that's not a problem. We really, the lights are there mostly because we've had so many break-ins, and
Yeah.
we that's why we want the lights around. So.
Okay, anything else? Anybody else have any questions? I can't see everybody. Nora, Margaret, John?
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
None from me. This is Nora.
Okay,
From me.
No, not for me either.
would somebody like to make a motion that we approve application 21-14 with the requirement that a bike rack be installed, that the lighting on the current building be fully shielded, and that there be an inspection of the stormwater system by a licensed engineer. Is there a motion to approve it with those conditions?
I'll make the
I'll-
motion. Do I have to say it?
I so move.
I'll move it. We can all move it.
Okay,
I'll
Dan is
second.
moved. And
I'll
Catherine
second.
is seconded. And I will call, is there any further discussion? I'm going to ask people to, I'm going to call your name. Dan?
Yes.
Yes. John?
Aye.
Margaret? Margaret? I think she said aye.
Yep, aye.
That's
Thank you.
good. Michael?
Yes.
Catherine?
Aye.
Nora?
Yes.
And I'll vote aye. So it's approved 7-0 with the conditions that we talked about. Thank you very much, Mr. Tarmy.
Hey, thank you very much for your time, guys.
Okay,
Okay, bye-bye.
bye. Okay, we're going to move to Tri-Park Cooperative Housing, case 2021-15, request for flood hazard conditional use approval for a mobile home on a new foundation. Who is presenting? You can unmute yourself.
Bill, would you like me to do it?
Sure. I'm William Hodge from the park manager. Ham is our engineer, and I'm more than happy to let him. He put most of the application together with me, so I'll turn that over to him.
Okay. And you can feel free to chime in.
Okay. So do I share from my screen, or do I just
No.
tell you guys to turn the page?
Andrew will share what you've submitted.
Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
you just tell them what you want. You tell them what you want
I
to
just
see.
had some other stuff open, but I respect that we share what we talked about, what we submitted. So the property is part of the Mountain Home Park, and one of the units, it's shown in, there's a blow up scale to the left and a zoomed out scale that where the mobile homes look a lot smaller, manufactured homes look a lot smaller, and it shows the flood zone in yellow. That's the 100 year flood zone. and the down near the Whetstone Brook is in red. And then I believe that's the 500-year flood zone out that's in purple, that's up the mountain a little bit. This region is pretty tricky as far as the FEMA mapping goes. There's this this is the FEMA floodplain. It did not experience flooding in this way, shape, or form during Irene. And I think, you know, there's a piece to this that we suspect has to do with the Pleasant Valley Reservoir. The stream is that runs and connects with the Whetstone Brook is the discharge from the Pleasant Valley Reservoir. So if you're having a major flooding event, you if you're properly managing your water system, you would discharge the lake ahead of it, knowing that Irene was coming, like we did about almost a week in advance. So they didn't experience the flooding, but the existing home that was there, the existing manufactured home, is in the floodplain just by a hair. When you look at the cross sections that FEMA has provided, the slab that the existing home was on is at elevation 495.2. The base flood elevation is approximately 500.2, so it's 5 feet underwater theoretically during the 100-year storm. However, Irene didn't touch it. So we have to look at it from, we have to take the FEMA flood marks as what you design around. And the manufactured homes are done in accordance with, there's a FEMA regulatory requirement for manufactured homes called P85. And we designed around that, which was basically, if we could go ahead and move to the next page, and you'll see a foundation. Whoop. There you go. Could you zoom in a little bit on the foundation section itself? That's below to the, yep. A little bit more. Down and to the left a little bit.
Sorry, give me a second. My computer is being fidgety. My apologies.
Yeah, I know what's there, but it's pretty, now if you could scroll down just a bit, we're looking to get towards the section. I mean, I'll stay here for a second. That's just a, oh yeah, there we go. Okay, so the way this is more or less designed is it's a wet, it's basically a wet flood proofing system where if the water were to get up as high as FEMA dictates, we want the water to go pass underneath the mobile home. FEMA has a what's called the 3-foot pier foundation for manufactured homes. There is a note in Brian Bannon's preliminary draft that we'll get to in a little bit. I interpreted the 4-foot criteria. Well, I guess I would do it now. I interpreted the 4-foot criteria to be speaking to the FEMA requirements, where FEMA requires a 3-foot foundation pier, and then there's the floor framing system starts, which is typically at least a foot. So it was hard to tell from the language whether or not the intent of the zoning regulations were to adopt the FEMA system or to enhance the and have an extra foot above what FEMA requires for the flood proofing. And that I honestly thought that was the case. So we did leave it as is, and figured we'd take it to the hearing and get the ruling from the panel. As far as whether or not the foundation works in either design, taking it higher just reduces the amount of flood loads that we calculated for the system. So it can go a foot higher, and it's not a problem as far as my work goes. It does take the building up an extra foot from the ground where it would be. So taller stairs, and in the practical sense, it's even further up above anything that Irene would do. So, but that is the way the zoning's written. If you look at the section, what we intend to do is, if you you see the concrete cast in place slab with the rebar. That is sitting directly on the existing concrete slab. There is a 4-inch concrete slab that was directly under the existing manufactured home, and that home disappeared, and now a new home is coming. Well, an existing home from another place is coming in to be put on this site. And the way this design more or less works is we have to resist the hydrodynamic flood loads, the static flood loads, buoyancy flood loads, and the impact flood loads. That's what FEMA requires you to design around, and that's what we did. Most of the resistance is carried by the tie down system that anchors into the new cast slab. Intend to basically cast the new slab directly over the existing slab, so there shouldn't be any new impervious. There's putting some insulation down the sides, because the HUD requirements or USDA requirements, depending, require you to have a little bit of frost protection on not necessarily new manufactured home sites, but manufactured home sites when you build. It's questionable whether it's new or old, but it's an existing pad. And I don't know if I've got too many other comments on that. There's already existing water and sewer hookup, of course. They would penetrate through the new slab and come up, and the skirt would there'd be a vinyl skirt around the bottom of the home with some layers of some insulation, so it'd be not a conditioned space, but a semi-conditioned space underneath.
How energy efficient is the new old home?
I can't speak to it. I would suspect it would be a newer home than what was there, but it is the home that's not the property of the landowner. They'll own the foundation, but they won't own the building that sits upon it.
I could speak a little bit to that. It's I believe a mid-80s is the year it was built, so it conforms to HUD's building standards, pre-1976, but it's not going to be an Energy Star rated home, as if you were to go buy a new one tomorrow. So, and we do have the potential homeowner is also on the call here. That was Miss Ortiz. So any specific questions about the home, you could probably maybe get a few more answers from her on it.
Ms. Ortiz, do you want to comment? Me here.
Yep, I'm here.
Do you want to comment?
So I'm not super familiar with mobile homes, but it's in good condition, much better than the one that I rehabbed last. Yeah.
So it's got insulation and
Oh, yes.
everything like that. Okay.
Yep.
And my other question is, how is your home going to be heated? And how, if it's oil or propane, how will the tanks be anchored?
Right.
That's probably a question for the engineer.
Well, I would follow the guidelines. I know that it has to be on a cement padding. Yeah, I mean,
I'll let William answer this one because I was not familiar with the what the heating supply would be.
My thought was, I don't know if some of the board members recall, we Tri-Park came to the development review board for an oil tank installation in a flood hazard area maybe a year or two ago. So my thought was that we would follow pretty much exactly what was approved in that decision. Obviously, we'll work with Brian on that, but that was my thought. And if Brian wants to speak any further to that or offer anything different, then we would definitely like to hear that. But that was my thought.
So I think if this were a greenfield site, you'd want to see it either elevated or buried. But given that this is an existing site and you're working within those constraints, I think, tying down and then having the vent at least 1 foot above base flood elevation meets the intent of the regulations.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's what we approved. I think it was last year sometime, if I'm not mistaken.
I think we all lost a year there somewhere, so.
Yeah.
True.
You were on the board then, weren't you, Michael?
Yep.
Yeah.
I have a question for Brian. What is this confusion with the FEMA requirements and where if they're saying 3 feet, to me it would be nice to do 4, but I'm just saying, is that something that Mr. Hugman and they've decided to go with 4 regardless of the FEMA? I don't know, what's the confusion?
So our regulations say that the piers and foundation elements have to be 48 inches tall. And I had thought that meant the piers. And Ham's interpretation was that it should include the trusses and the piers, which is what his design reflects. And it's on the board to look at the wording of the regulations and decide if his interpretation is reasonable. And if you do decide his interpretation is reasonable, then you should approve his design as proposed.
Thank you.
Maya?
Michael?
I've taken a pretty close look at the FEMA regulations and another look at our regulations with that 48 inches. As I read it, it would be quite reasonable to believe that the metal structure, just so that as long as we're all on the same page here, the way I understand it, a mobile home comes with with a flooring unit that is insulated, kind of like a regular floor, but that sits on top of a metal frame that makes it strong enough so that you can actually wheel it down the road. And as I understand it, and I kind of believe that FEMA looks at it the way that that metal frame is, in fact, would be considered part of the foundation unit, so to speak. So the concern that I had with what you had proposed there, Ham, was in the FEMA regulations, they said that that metal frame could be anywhere from 8 inches to 10 inches to 12 inches thick. And to be in compliance with our 48 inches, I would think you'd either want to make sure that it was a foot thick or add a little bit more to your piers.
Yeah, and so yeah, we're comfortable doing whatever the board interprets the regulations to be. Like I said, what it was, and I can't share my screen right now, but there is I'm looking at a figure that the FEMA figure shows the 36-inch pier, and then it shows about a foot of materials, because it's not just the beam, but you also have the cross. You have the primary beams, but then you also have floor joists involved, and then the floor elevations above that. So really, what it came down to is when I first read the zoning rules, and also Bill did, William Hodgman did as well. We're not related, but we both thought that they were trying to come to the same point, but take away the ambiguity of the FEMA regs, which were do a pier, and then there's some gray area right here, but it doesn't really tie you directly to the base flood elevation. But it is the town regs. We're going to meet the FEMA, and if we look to the town is responsible for the floodplain management. So ultimately, it's your call.
So, Michael, to phrase in another way, what you described is the Brattleboro regulations require 48 inches above grade. And that 48 inches can be comprised of foundation elements, which can be concrete and steel. So I think I'm in agreement that that steel frame can be inclusive within that 48 inches. But I'd want to caution that it's only the steel. It doesn't include insulation or plumbing or electrical utilities or any sheathing or anything like that.
Yeah,
okay.
That's what the way I understand it, and you folks that know more about these mobile homes can tell me, is that they have a steel frame that gives you the major support, and then on top of that steel frame you have your wooden frame with the insulation and everything else, so that the top of that steel frame is going to be I don't know, 6, 8, whatever inches below the actual finished floor.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're spot on with your thinking there. That's exactly how they're designed.
So it seems like if you look at that existing mobile home and measure the thickness of the frame and then modify the detail to hit 48 inches.
To meet the letter of the law, I guess that's what I would suggest, is to take it, especially seeing as you have the mobile home available to you to look at. You can measure the thickness of that steel on those main carrying beams, and make sure that you're your posts are, with that, would come to 48 inches.
Yep. So as far as the detail goes, it would be taking the, we don't have any more, but you see the 36 inches that I showed for the pier. We just extend the line up, take it up to the top of the beam. Don't get into the floor joists, and then just arbitrarily say 48 inches, and they have to hit that.
Yes.
And if it's made with the beam, if it's made, if the beam's 12 inches, you get there. If it's not, then you're doing another block.
Or
half or shit. Yeah. Assembly of which.
That's the way I interpret the rules, that steel would in fact be a foundation member.
And
Anybody
it would
else?
be in compliance with FEMA as well.
Yes. Yeah, being compliance with our regs and FEMA's. Anybody else have any comments? Dan?
Yes, hi, Dan Handy here. So I am curious if the height of the piers affects, or if there's any requirement for insurance on the mobile home or for the property. And I'm not sure if you require insurance or anything of that sort, but for example, if there were some sort of discount, if it were taller, if you were to get flood insurance, of course.
Mm.
Bill, do you get flood insurance on mobile homes?
You can, yes. And I'm not sure, and I think Brian and I just had this discussion recently. We're not sure if it's a requirement yet. If there's a mortgage, yes. Most of the homes there aren't mortgages on them. I have dealt with some of our residents who had flood policies, and 2 or 3 years ago, they received letters that their premiums were going to exponentially unless they provided an elevation certificate. So I think your thought process there is spot on, that if it's elevated, and in this case, we will have an elevation certificate done. So I think that will help with, making the policy affordable if the homeowner chooses to pursue that.
Right, that was essentially what I'm getting at is, and maybe to future-proof the whole situation, if it were a matter of 6 inches or 8 or even 12 inches more, if it were in the future going to become a real issue where you needed to do it again, you'd be preventing that if necessary. But I don't know the insurance requirements.
Yeah. And I do want to draw attention to one thing. We are raising the grade outside as well a little bit, because we're casting the slab on top of it. The slab's 8 inches, but in order to give it frost protection, we put a little bit of fill on it. So it's like the 36-inch rule that FEMA carries is about measuring the pier, and also the way the zoning is written, it's 48 inches from grade. So if I raise the grade, if I could put a slab in that's 4 feet thick, and I still have to do another 4 feet if I fill in dirt all around it, even though but there is
that
I think we'd be looking at a net raise of around 5 feet if we're getting close to having this thing at BFE, base flood elevation. And like I said, it's who thinks this is a real base flood elevation? FEMA does.
And Michael Averill here again. As I understand it, the 3 feet that their FEMA put through is kind of it's saying that if you've got this thing that is, the floor may get wet, but it's not going to get washed away because you've got enough of an area underneath it so that any flowing water can get under it, and it wouldn't necessarily take it down the river, so to speak. It's the piers and everything else, because I mean, you'd have to go a bit to get, I mean, to get a foot above the flood elevation. That you're ending up getting up, going up, what, 5-6 feet, no?
To get a foot above, I would have to get to, I'd say 501.2. I'd have to be.
It's over 6 feet.
Floor would have to be 6 feet off the existing slab right now.
That's,
Yeah, and we're hoping we'll have new maps within the next couple of years, and it'll probably take the base flood elevation down about a foot.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have to deal with the maps that we have now.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, and you look at the map, if the house was another, if you go outside the line, you don't magically go up 5 feet. But that's where the line is, and
Yeah,
the line's the
and
line.
when the new maps come in, the floodplain will be much broader and will actually go to the toe of slope there. So it will incorporate the entirety of the site.
Yeah, and FEMA never considers the, how a municipality would operate a dam for their water supply. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, when the big storm comes, you're going to drain down the Pleasant Valley water supply, so you have room to take the flood, so you don't have an actual real flood by an overtopping dam that takes out the dam.
Yeah, it's actually mostly a backwater condition, Ham. They didn't really model very much from the Pleasant Valley Brook.
Any other comments, questions? So I think, let me just look and see something. So we're talking about building in conformance with both the town regs and FEMA. Well, if you build to the town regs, you'll meet FEMA, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from Ms. Ortiz? Do you have anything to say?
No, just thank you for doing all this. A
You're
lot.
welcome.
I appreciate it.
So is there a motion to
Just really quickly, so what I'm proposing for the finding for that is the board determined that the foundation elements includes the piers and steel chassis, but not the floor joists, and the design will meet this requirement as submitted.
And that's what would meet the regulations of the town regs, right?
Yep, that being the board's determination that it does because of that,
Okay,
because you include the chassis as well.
okay.
Yep. Is there a motion to approve with the understanding that we're approving it to meet the town regulations?
I move.
Is there a second?
This is Margaret. I second.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Michael,
Michael Averill here. I
Yeah.
think we want to also, it would be convenient if we were also including the anchoring and venting of the
oh,
fuel tank.
Oh, right, thank you,
yes,
Michael.
yes, good point. We
So
have an
I guess I would revise, if I could, I might revise the motion to include the venting and venting above the floodplain of any fuel tank, as well as lashing it, anchoring it to pad, and that the top of the steel chassis would be 48 inches above the slab.
You already did that. Okay.
Does the maker of the motion accept the amendment?
Sure. I do, Catherine, yes.
Okay. All right, everybody know what we're voting on? Yeah.
Do we have to do a new second?
I don't think so,
Okay.
but we can have Margaret second it again.
I second the amended version.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to call the roll again. Nora,
Yes.
Catherine,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Margaret,
Aye.
John,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. So that's 7-0. And you're going to get your house, Miss Ortiz. Thank you very much. And I have some administrative business before we adjourn, just quickly. So
Appreciate it.
presenters and Miss Ortiz can sign off if you want.
Thank
or
you,
can
everybody.
listen.
Much.
Good to
Thank
see you
you.
again.
You can say thank you.
Bye. Okay. Administrative business is just that we've been, Nora is the vice chair, and I have been talking to Brian and Sue Fillion about doing some training. We have some new people on board, and we'd like to start in April with some training on ex parte communication and conflicts of interest. And to do that, so we don't have to set another date, we thought we'd like to start the meeting at 6 and have a presentation, and then we'll take a break, and then start the meeting as close to 7 as we can, so presenters don't have to hang around and wait too long.
And Maya, I have my toddler daughter.
Yes.
And I'm going to have to feed her at some point. So if
Okay.
you're okay with me being muted and video off, I can listen and watch, and
Yes.
that would be great for me.
That's fine.
Okay.
So this is in April, correct?
Yes, the April meeting, which is, I meant to look up the date, and
Have it. Hold on.
but we will have an agenda for April, Brian tells me. So we will have a meeting after.
Yeah, while we were on, I saw Sue's thing come up and then she went away. I didn't know
Well,
she.
Andrew's using Sue's connection.
So the date would be April 21st. That's the third Wednesday in April.
Okay.
So we'll send out an email and all the details on it. And I don't know whether it's going to be Sue that's going to be doing the training, or she was going to try to get Bob Fisher to come and do the training as the town attorney. So if that's agreeable to everybody, we'll plan on doing that on April 21st.
Or can I ask a question?
Yes.
Have you chosen those two topics because they've been issues in the past, or is it kind of a common thing?
It's a common thing to do for boards.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That sounds good.
And we thought we would just start there and then try to do some other training. There are some new people on the planning commission also. So we were thinking for some other topics, we might do a joint training that's separate from our meeting. But we thought,
Because we are, anything that we decide goes before the environmental board if it gets challenged. I mean, so we have to be really careful about bringing something to the board that we shouldn't, like having a conversation outside or talking about what we're doing, which we're not supposed to do. So I think it's really a good idea.
Yep.
Kind of refresher.
yes, a refresher for some of us and new information for others. So, okay, is there a motion? Is there any other business?
I have a question.
Michael?
Is there any way that we could get our information just a wee bit sooner?
I'll do my best, Michael. I know I've been disorganized and really a little bit later than I wanted it to be, but yes.
And
that would be greatly appreciated. It really would.
Yeah, no, I know
Yeah.
it's impractical to give it to you the day before.
And I'd also like to point out before we adjourn that tonight is Andrew's last meeting with us. He's going to be going to Somerville as a city planner, and he's leaving us on Friday. And
But
Definitely.
really enjoyed working with everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. I learned a lot, so I'm hoping that what I've brought and learned from Brattleboro, I can bring to Somerville, obviously at a much larger scale. So thank you so much.
Is that Somerville, Massachusetts?
yes,
Oh, I used to live there.
thank you, Andrew.
A nice town.
Congratulations, Andrew.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Appreciate it.
Whoops.
Whoop.